Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report, the first podcast to bring you the local fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. I'm Joe Paya. I'm here as always with Butch Theory. Butch, we had a heck of a weekend, man.
We did. I enjoyed it.
I didn't get to take anybody down over at the Alabama Fishing Rodeo.
We didn't give it a very valiant effort, let's be honest.
Well, I'm just going to be honest that that's always my excuse, you know. I've just gotten to that.
It's not an excuse. It's the truth.
You know, just not that big a deal to me to compete anymore. That's what I always say.
Not at all. Not at all what I said.
I grind their bones into dust when I win, but
whatever.
Yeah, we did catch a pompano though. So
we did some ladyfish.
Many hardheads. Hardhead bite was.
It was on point.
It was strong. But my float hooks. Hey, what do you think of my float hooks?
I like them, man. It's fancy. They worked really well.
We got an interesting hey cap question today. We're going to tie it in with those float hooks. I had the nail polish out. I was painting them up. Yep. A lot of interesting things going on there at the Alabama Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo. That was a cool tournament, man. I had a really good time over there. I just love that venue.
It's a great spot.
It is.
Old River Grill is much more my speed than across the street there.
Yeah, it's like you look across one side of the road and you're like, this is your 20s. Maybe even your late teens. You look across the other road and you're like, this is the rest of my life.
This is me. This is more my speed over here.
This is where we go when you want to be, you know, when you want to get a good night's sleep and be in bed. Need to be in bed by 9:30 these days.
Whew, that's late.
All right, Butch. Well, who's bringing us the show this week?
Man, this week's show is brought to us by our local Geico insurance office. Everybody knows Geico has great auto rates, but did you know they also have great rates on boats, ATVs, motorcycles, and personal watercrafts? Give Ron Davis a call at 251-445-0053. Not only will Ron work hard to get you the lowest premium possible, but you'll have the service you expect and can count on if you ever need to make a claim. Hopefully not. But Geico does even more than insure your valuable items. They also offer on-the-water services like towing, battery jumps, gas delivery, and you can save by bundling these services with your insurance. If you're an Alabama saltwater fisherman, support your local insurance agent who helps bring you the fishing report each week. Call Ron Davis, Geico agent, at 251-445-0053 or visit him online at geico.com, mobile-AL. Thank you, Ron and Geico, for making this podcast possible.
Where are we going to take it first, Butch? We got an inshore report coming at you, onshore report coming at you, offshore report. Who we got?
Yep, I think we want to start it off with the tried and true Captain Ugly. How we doing today, Captain Patrick?
Oh, doing well, guys. I got me a little nap in before this show, so I feel frisky. I'm ready.
Ready to do it to it. I like it, man. What's been going on?
Yep. Oh man, it's been a little bit of different things going on. Friday, I took the Fishing Chaos crew and their kids out fishing. Our goal was to get all the kids something to weigh in. I felt like with the conditions that we had some west wind forecasted that morning and worked up and down some docks around the western side of the bay. Man, we started off the game pretty hot with the hardhead catfish, and then that turned into some redfish for us, which was a delight. And we had all the kids on the board, as far as they all had them a nice 23 or 24 inch redfish by about 8:30, 9 o'clock that morning. Picked up, a couple other species. I think I caught a couple of trout and white trout, and one of them had a stingray. So they had multiple Alabama rodeo species in the boat by about 9 o'clock. Then we ran out of shrimp. We caught some pogies, and I just wanted to try out check see if we could find maybe a bigger redfish or maybe a large trout or something like that. And literally our last pogie of the day, we landed one of the guys, Thomas, from Fishing Chaos, landed a 6.34 speckled trout and took first place in Alabama Rodeo.
All right.
So
nice,
that was super sweet, man. But anyway, that was on Friday. I took the weekend off. We had a T-ball tournament this weekend, so I was cheering on my son out there at the T-ball field. And then Monday we came back, loaded up the live well with a bunch of live shrimp, and went to the Gulf Beach. Went out, took a little time to kind of locate any kind of life. There was a little bit of activity as far as ladyfish and stuff off the beach a ways. And then so we just drifted down the beach with the current. and caught a ladyfish and caught another one and then caught a trout. So I hit the anchor mode on my trolling motor when we caught that first trout. And that one trout helped us find, I think we ended up with 43 trout by like 8:30 that morning. I mean, it was fast and furious. The guys, I had a guy and his two boys, and they were many triple ups on live shrimp under a popping cork. I attempted to throw a slick lure in there between them hooking fish a few times, and I never could get a fish. So it was all them all morning. Then we made a little run around, found a little school of redfish that we were able to sight cast a couple out of that, and man, just had a real nice day Monday, and then yesterday went back kind of looking for the similar live shrimp on the beach bite, and did not get a single trout bite. Caught one on a slick lure, and then ended up over at Dolphin Island on the Gulf Beach over there, and we found a nice little bite. Like it kind of felt like it was going to end up being more bluefish because we kept getting our slick lures bit off. We caught one nice one on a slick, and then I said, well, man, I'm going to throw top water. And man, literally the first cast had a trout hooked up on top water, and then I just switched the two guys over to top water. Just caught a lot of trout after that, and that bite lasted like till 9:45 or so, 10 o'clock on top water.
Nice.
So that was a real sweet find, and that was with Dan Luke. Dan Luke's a regular podcast listener, so
well, thanks, Dan.
Anyway. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's everything that's kind of happened over the last 3 days.
Well, Patrick, I want to pull you back a little bit. You mentioned fishing with a popping cork. When we talked to you last week, you were big on the slip cork. So one of the things Butch and I talked about last week is just how it's impressive to see how you as a guide will completely switch gears, day to day, because of conditional changes, and you see something that tells you, well, okay, I'm going to abandon what I was doing that was helping me catch fish and move on to something else. So how'd you end up on that popping cork bite? What made you switch from the deep water structure?
Believe it or not, it was a tip from my mom. My mom and stepdad, seriously, they went snapper fishing Sunday morning or Saturday morning or Sunday morning. They went both mornings, but one of the mornings they stopped on the beach on the way in, and they said that they caught two nice trout on live shrimp. Said that they didn't get a bite on a croaker, didn't get a bite on a pogie. And I asked them one clue that I always look for when I'm trying to find a big school of trout is what type of bait was around. And they said the glass minnows were everywhere. And I said, that's exactly where I'm going. I don't care if they caught one or they caught 10. I just felt like the ingredients sounded just right for that shrimp bite on the beach to be going on, and I was real lucky that was the case because kind of fully committed to having my morning spent there. I mean, we could have changed gears and went back in the bay and done some slip corking, but kind of comparing notes with the guys that did that, the bite was not near as good in the bay. Fortunate to make the right call that morning.
It's funny that you say that you had that other trip where y'all switched to top water, and that really made the difference in the trout bite. I saw there was a 10.5 pound trout caught on top water. I hadn't heard the full story on that, but
yeah, that was a beast.
That's a dinosaur for coastal Alabama. I wonder, you see those kind of fish pretty regular off Texas, pretty regular around Mosquito Lagoon, the eastern coast of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be interesting to 3 years from now or so when the new regulations have had time to have an effect. If Alabama can produce that fish, it'll be interesting to see if those become a commonplace catch. I mean, you think about red snapper, a 15-pound fish 15 years ago was the big fish of the day.
You put that in your cooler and rode it around for a week to show everybody that you were the hero and caught the 15-pound snapper.
Right. And, obviously there were fish that were bigger than that caught all the time. But, that was definitely not the average grade of fish. I would say it almost is now. You're probably a 10 to 15-pound fish is just on every boat that's coming in. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the trout. I'm excited about it.
I mean, it's got to help. The estimated, I guess we can see some of these fish that are like that's in that 27, 28, 29 inch range that are, I mean, they could be as young as like 6 years old and as old as 9 or 10 years old, maybe even older than that. So yeah, I mean, if we get 6 years down the road from these new regulations, we should see some drastic improvement in the number of these trophies being caught.
We'll see.
Well, Patrick, we're going to do something a little bit different this week. We're going to ask everybody on the show the same Hey Cap question. And we're going to do a little something different with the prizes as well. This week, we're going to start a giveaway. It's going to be for a 36-inch C-Deck fish ruler donated by the Coastal Conservation Association. Butch, what do you think about that thing? I see you're kind of you're eyeing those things over there.
They are, man. They're super sweet. They have the CCA Alabama logo, the red fish, and we have some grays and some tans. You know, they have the sticky back, and they're sweet. They're probably 5 inches, 5 inches thick from top to bottom. So they're big. They're super nice. I'm excited about it.
Well, it's good that they have the color,
cool.
The different colors. I see quite a few prima donnas out there. I know those guys are going to want to match them to their,
of course,
to their boat scheme.
Yeah.
Got to keep the same motif on your bay boat for
Agreed.
sure.
That's right.
Well, guys, there's a number of ways you can enter. The easiest way is probably to go to greatdaysoutdoors.com/ASFR, and it's free to enter. Or you can go to our Facebook page. On the left side of the page, you'll find a subscribe tab, and you can enter there as well. Like I say, it's free to enter, but if we choose your Hey Cap question, we're going to sign you up 10 times for the giveaway. So This week's Hey Cap question kind of pertains to what we were talking about earlier, Butch, with the colored hooks, the float hooks.
Agreed.
Who's this question from?
This is Pat O'Brien.
Pat O'Brien, yeah. He sent us this on Facebook, right? What did he say?
Yep, he's a friend of mine from college. He said, I have a question that we need some expert advice on. Some buddies and I were fishing Sunday, and the discussion of hook color came up. I prefer to use a black hook, and a buddy prefers to use a gold hook. Some of the fish were acting spooky when baits were presented. Does the color of a hook have any effect on the bite ratio while using live bait?
So what do you think, Patrick?
I've always gone with the thought process of using like a bronze or a black, something that'll tend to blend in with the water and not be real pronounced. Yet I know guys that use gold hooks and gold hooks only and claim that the flashiness of the hook helps the bait stand out. So I've never actually went in an experimental situation where we went a black hook versus a gold hook, but I err on the side of I would rather that finicky fish not turn my bait away because it sees a flashy hook. So I tend to go for a more, something that blends in better. I know one thing that we did experiment with years ago was trying the red hooks, and I felt like the red hooks almost prevented bites or really reduced the bites, especially like with speckled trout. So that's my piece on it. I don't really have any more technical things to go with that, but that's my experience on the hook color.
I think Pat was specifically talking about the fish with 3 tails, but I think it'd be cool to get perspective on all fish, because I mean that's a problem that we all, not a problem, but something that I'm sure everybody every time they tie on a hook, asks themselves. So I think it'll be cool to get some different input from the different.
That would be. I will anxiously be waiting to listen to the podcast so I can hear everybody's response.
Well, what's interesting is some of those red hooks, when the red wears off,
that was the big deal for a while. Everybody was freaking out about them.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you, Patrick, though. It seems like for me, I would just rather my hook be hidden. I'm not trying to use my hook to
attract the fish,
aid in getting the fish to bite. So some of those duller colors. But I'm just not a real flashy guy to begin with, so I don't know. Maybe you could get some hooks and match them to your C-Deck fish ruler, and then.
Well, here's my other thing with flashy hooks is a lot of times I'm down around the beach or southern end of the bay, and we have Spanish mackerel and bluefish that run around. And the less flash, I think, the less lines you'll have cut off. So there's another tip with the hook color.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But if you are going for, like if we're talking about going for triple tail, I'd probably stick with erring on the hook that blends in.
I think I agree.
I like it. I can't wait to see what everybody else says, because those guys on the beach, they got pink hooks and yellow hooks and orange hooks, all kind of stuff. And Butch, that this past weekend when we were fishing those float hooks, that chartreuse float hook that I was fishing where I'd painted the hook chartreuse, that was the one that was getting
all the bites.
But again, how can you say, because it was definitely in the best spot. That was where that
the big hole was. Yep.
So
hard to say.
It's hard to do a double blind study with something like that. I am looking forward to seeing what everybody else has to say. All right, Patrick, what about an inshore tip? This week's inshore tip is brought to us by the Alabama Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo, July 19th through the 21st, and the Roy Martin Young Anglers Tournament, July 13th. The Rodeo Open competition is $50 per angler, and there are additional jackpot competitions for big game, king mackerel, red snapper, and speckled trout. Tickets are available online at fishingchaos.com and at the following retailers: Academy Sports and Outdoors in Foley, Mobile, and West Mobile; Blue Water Ship Stores, Greer's Market Fowl River, Howell and Associates Insurance, J&M Tackle, Wentz Hardware and Sporting Goods, Pronto Pond Theodore, and Tackle This, Shoot That. Butch, I'm pretty excited about the rodeo this year, man. We had a lot of fun last year, and we've got a surprise this year. It's going to be bigger and better. Well, we're not going to say just yet because we're still working out some of the details, but it's going to be better. I'm excited about it.
Me too.
Not very far away.
It's going to be here before you know it. That's a fact. I can't believe it's already first week of June already.
Right around the corner.
Well, Patrick, what do you think for an inshore tip?
Well, I've noticed just over the last couple, probably 2 or 3 weeks, we have everything's just kind of, it's all full blown summer. So now we have, in the same spot where we were only catching speckled trout, now we have ladyfish and sharks and bluefish and Spanish mackerel, which all can be fun to catch. But if you are really targeting speckled trout, you're going to have to really think about what you're doing and pay attention to what's going on. Like this morning, we felt like we were in a nice spot to try to catch some trout. We figured the top water bite would have been over, so we were using subsurface baits. We were throwing the slick lure and catch a trout, and then follow it right up with a slick lure bit in half, and then catch a bluefish, and then have another one bit in half. Well, it gets expensive going through slick lures or any type of plastic bait where they're cutting them in half. So I adapted by targeting just going on top, which we still caught bluefish on top water, but I could put an 80-pound leader on there, prevent some breakoffs there, and we were able to. It ended up putting a lot more speckled trout in the boat by going to top water because the fish were fired up there, and so I mean the tip is that if you get into these situations where you have other fish species around, try out some different things that would potentially reduce the number of fish that you're not desiring to catch, and that would hopefully put more speckled trout in the boat.
Heck yeah, it's a great tip.
Patrick, you talk about that trying out some different things, and I'm reminded of a show we did in the heat of the summer last year, and you were on a really dirty bite up in the bay, and during that time you were catching a lot of undesirable fish, but you were just having to kind of fight through them, and then you'd eventually catch a trout or catch a redfish, but you might catch hardheads and all different other types of things to get there. Were you using that same process then? Were you trying other things to see if you could clean up the bite, or when do you know what clued you in? Were you just throwing a top water and you got bit? No,
I intentionally tied it on because I was in I've been on Dolphin Island before when when the trout are there and you could throw top water till dang near noon. And I had one laying on the dash from earlier that morning. I just quick tied it on, and it was an instant result, instant response from the trout. So I felt like that was the ticket, and we, kind of rinsed and repeated and made some more casts and caught some more trout. So that ended up being the ticket. But you're right on sometimes you just have to wade through them. Like it's on the rigs in the bay. I mean, you're going to get to the point where you're going to drift a slip cork and a live shrimp, and you're going to catch a ladyfish, a bluefish, a Spanish, and a trout. And there's going to be no particular order in which you're going to catch them. But you're just going to, if you want to sit there and slip cork fish on the rigs, you're just going to have to get used to getting a lot of ladyfish off the hooks and just grinding it out and getting through some of those undesirables and get the speckled trout on there.
Hey man, so, I'm telling you, the only one I heard you say out of that group was undesirable to me was a ladyfish, and I've never even eaten one of those. Those bluefish that Hank Shaw made for us, Butch, were the best. That's some of the best fish I've had in a long time.
It was tasty.
Yep.
He took care of them. As soon as he brought them in the boat, he bled them out really well.
Yep.
And kept them iced down really well. And I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of fish getting thrown back over and not targeted. That's dang good fish. So
I concur with that. But I guess on the bluefish side, I do like to eat them. But the fact that they destroy your tackle is undesirable to me.
That is undesirable. I agree.
Agreed. We can all agree on that.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Patrick. Well, thanks, man. Good report this week. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, bud. See you.
All right, Joe. That was a great report from the old trout guru, Captain Ugly. Let's head on down to Dolphin Island, Alabama. See what Captain Skipper Theory's doing on the escape. How we doing today, Captain Skipper?
What's up, guys? Doing good. Just doing the summertime snapper thing the last few days. It was nice to throw a few of them in the box.
Heck yeah, I bet it feels good to get a little revenge from all the throwbacks you've had to do the past 6 months, huh?
Absolutely.
Put a little color in the box.
Absolutely.
They're fun to pull on. I'm sure they've been biting pretty well.
Yeah, snappers have been biting really good. And pretty good to have a beeliners today. Throw them in their addition to them. So, no, can't complain, man. The weather's been really nice all week, and fishing's been good, and life is good.
Yeah, end of last week, you guys got into some yellow fins and some black fins pretty good.
Yeah, we had a nice trip. Our buddy Danny Bedgood, he goes with us a few times a year.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim Davis had a really nice time. Just hit the weather right, caught some nice dolphin and some yellowfin and blackfin, a few grouper. It was a good trip.
I saw some of those pictures. Looked like y'all had a giant dolphin and some really nice blackfins.
The blackfins were, I call them lump blackfins. We used to catch them on the old midnight lump down there, that size. But yeah, they were all, or mostly, 20 pounds or so. It was good fishing.
Did y'all catch much of the blackfins jigging?
They caught some jigging, and we caught them. Caught some on some live cigar minnows that we had caught a couple of days before. Just kind of sending them back, and caught some on some flying fish we'd scooped up. Just a little bit of everything. Caught a couple on the kite, a couple trolling. Just how it is. You catch a couple this way, a couple that way.
Oh yeah.
Just kind of keep at it.
Man, I love that kite fishing.
What about the mahi? Were there any rips out there, or were y'all just you catch them in open water, or how those fish come?
Those couple of nicer ones just came around the rig. There's a lot of grass, but so far as I know, it hadn't made up into any kind of a rip. There's just miles and miles of just scattered, just a mess, really. As far as trolling, it's really hard to troll, or is it hard to troll for tunas even? I mean, just scattered grass just getting on your lines really bad.
Pain.
It was pretty terrible.
If we bring it back inshore or near shore, Skipper, obviously snapper's not much trouble for anybody right now, weather permitting. What about some of the other fish like king mackerel? Did y'all see any cobia? What's the king bite been like so far this year?
The king bite has been really slow. Our water's been pretty dirty with all this rain all up north. It's just a few kings here and there, not many at all that I've seen. I haven't seen a cobia in a couple of weeks. I'm sure y'all talked to Richard, and he's caught 20 this week, but yeah, I haven't.
He caught 27 actually. He said he was
27.
Right.
Yeah. I'm still waiting on my cobia lesson, but
Maybe this year.
But
Maybe
no,
that'll be the year.
I haven't been seeing any further out at all. I just haven't. They're popping up on our spots or around rigs or anything. I just haven't seen any.
The kings that you are catching, is it y'all been focused in on catching them on rigs, or are you picking them up on spots? What have you been doing?
A couple on spots. I have not tried around the rigs, actually. Yeah, a couple on fast trollers. But, the water's been so nasty, I just haven't.
Doesn't instill
I just
confidence.
hadn't felt good about. No, I haven't felt good about spending the time to, look for them around rigs and specifically target them.
What's the holdup been like? Is it kind of switching around? Is it pretty easy right now?
It hadn't been bad. Saturday we had a lot of current opening day, but the last few days it's just been just a real light north current, real easy hold up. No problem at all,
Makes it nice.
We're in discussion with Minn Kota. I believe they've got a 2,000-pound thrust, 15-foot shaft iPilot coming your way. So should be in good shape. You ought to be able to just have a sandwich up there from here on out. That's what I'm thinking.
They have one that's gonna fit on the Escape now. That'd be nice.
So what you ought to do is just mount you like a 300 Yamaha up there, put Chris up there with a tiller handle.
Right. That'd be great.
Yeah, it'll fit on the bow. The problem is you got to have 4 deckhands to deploy it.
Okay.
Big batteries.
If I don't have to hold up all day, I might get a couple more.
That could be worth it for sure.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Well, Skipper, we asked Patrick this question this week, and we're doing something a little different. The Hey Cap question we're asking everybody on the show, and the question this week pertained to hook color. Pat O'Brien asked us. He said, "I prefer to use a black hook." I think he was talking about triple tail, but I really wanted to get an idea from everybody. He says, "I prefer to use a black hook, and a buddy prefers to use a gold hook. Some of the fish this weekend were acting spooky when baits were presented. So I'm wondering, does the color of a hook have any effect on the bite ratio while using live bait? Have you ever seen anything offshore that really made you think it mattered?"
I have not. I would say it's really more about the quality of the bait for me. A good lively bait, a better bait like a cigar minnow, a sardine, a butterbean hardtail or something, as opposed to a croaker or pinfish, something that's really going to get out there and get whatever fish you're trying to catch's attention,
Right.
So I'd say it's more about the quality of the bait.
Yeah, and I think, Patrick was saying he felt like inshore he couldn't really say one way or the other, but he felt like that he didn't want to take the risk of the fish being keyed in on that hook for any reason. And I think I could agree with that. And I'm just thinking about, the kite specifically. When we kite fish for tuna offshore, it makes such a big difference for us to be able to get that big hook and that big leader up out of the water and out of sight completely. I have to think that seeing no hook is better than seeing a bright hook of any kind.
I would agree with that.
I would have to think so. I can't see you using a giant gold plated hook or anything.
Diamond encrusted sparkly hook.
Yeah, I don't know.
No sparkly hooks.
Some of these guys getting fancy nowadays. You just
That's
never
true.
know.
It would not surprise me.
Bluetooth.
I'm pretty old school, man. I'm pretty old school.
Yeah.
Well, what are you thinking? We got to get the offshore tip, buddy. So this week's offshore tips brought to us by the Alabama Marine Resources Division, and they remind all recreational anglers who land red snapper in Alabama that one vessel report is to be submitted through the Snapper Check program before fish are brought onshore, regardless of where the fish was caught. Anglers can report their harvest online on the official Outdoor Alabama app or on paper forms at select coastal public boat ramps. For more information about Snapper Check for the 2019 red snapper season, please visit outdooralabama.com. And Butch, that brings to mind discussion we had with Scott Bannon, but it is really important, guys, to report those fish. The only way that we're getting more and more control of our fishery, and to be able to get more and more control, they've got to have the data to go off of, and they're going to be able to tell if people are not reporting their fish. So then they're going to have to institute that margin of error. So just make sure you're reporting to Snapper Check. It helps us all out in the long run. All right, Skipper, what do you think, man? What's going on offshore? What do you got for a tip?
Tip of the week. I'd say our trip last week was it really helped us out a lot to have our long dip net on there and scoop up some flying fish and put those back. Have you a long dip net or maybe a 3 or 4 foot cast net, and just be ready to catch you some good live baits. And it could make a difference. Just 1 or 2 fish, makes a trip.
Heck yeah, those live. I don't know why they love them so much, but pretty much anything will eat a flying fish. And you're right. I've caught them all the time and keep trying to keep them in the live well, trying to keep them live. And even if you can't keep them live, I've caught them on dead. Just trying to pick out those 2 or 3 more fish, or heck, even one. I mean, could make the difference. Could be 100-pounder. The
good thing too is, Butch, a 3 or 4 foot cast net, that's short enough for you to throw it pretty well. That's a Butch size cast net.
That sounds like a challenge there. You talk a lot of crap about me, but I won't take that. Been throwing a cast net since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, son. I'll show you how to throw a cast net.
Oh, well, I like that. No, that's the truth, man.
Well, how many
days have we had out there where one fish made the difference and one flying fish can be
plenty.
Yeah,
for sure.
And how many trips have we had where we said, golly, if we could have just had a live well full of live bait, or if we could have just had 2 or 3 more flying fish, we'd have been going from a average trip to a stellar trip.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. You got to optimize your chances.
Yep,
it's a game of inches,
and it's a fact.
All right, buddy. Well, Skipper, good report, man. Good luck out there. Y'all stay safe. I know you're going to be running every day. If folks need to get in touch with you guys and book a walk-on trip or see what you got left for the rest of the season, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Give Miss Ann a call, 251-861-5302, and she'll fix you up. We still got a few openings, so give us a call.
Get it in,
buddy.
Catch your goldfish.
All right, buddy.
Goldfish. No gold hooks.
No gold hooks.
No diamond encrusted hooks allowed.
All right. Well, stay safe out there, man.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Well, we've been inshore and offshore. That only leaves one place we can go next, and that's onshore. Dusty Hayes from Orange Beach, Alabama, has got the surf fishing report for us this week. Dusty, Butch and I, we struggled this past weekend. I mean, I didn't struggle. I was just relaxing. But Butch struggled. I mean, he really struggled out there. It's hard to watch even. I felt a little sorry for him. But anyway, how have you been doing? What's the surf fishing been like for you guys?
Surf fishing's been really good. I mean, a lot of variety. It can get tough in June just because of the heat, especially the heat of the day. But, we've had a lot of variety. I put together a little tournament, last week out of Sam's, Fish Bite sponsored, and it was for a local kid. It was a benefit tournament. We had, a few nice pompano brought in, some good size whiting. One lady brought in a 2.20 or a 2.22, I think, big whiting. It was a nice one. Matt caught another bonefish last week when we were fishing on the east side of Alabama. We caught another one, and then we saw a couple more on Facebook. There's been tons of ladyfish early in the morning. People hate on ladyfish, say it's a trash fish, but anybody that enjoys throwing a lure, especially if you don't get to do it often, I mean, I don't see how you couldn't have fun catching a little or a big ladyfish even. Bluefish, whiting, yeah, they're a blast. They really are. I mean, it's like fighting a juvenile tarpon. They're just and some of them, they're huge. I mean, some of them been big around as my arm or bigger. And just long, I mean, almost 2 feet long, just freaking monsters. They'll pull drag, and it's just a blast. But all kinds of variety. I've seen flounder, I've seen bull red, slot red, a little bit of everything. We've done the pompano, you know, if you can find the clear water, they're still going to hang around. You can catch them all year. You know, you'll catch them the next few weeks, catch them through July, you'll catch them in August. But it does get tougher just because the amount of other things that are out there. All those ladyfish and little hardtail and everything that's chasing on that bait, they'll eat a piece of shrimp too. So, you know, you can catch a few pompanos still this week and even the next couple of weeks, but it's not going to be as easy. And it's not necessarily they're not there. It's just, like I said, the presence of all these other species. But there's a lot going on for sure. It's been very, very consistent. You know, really just kind of have an open mind when you come out there and don't just plan for any one thing. You know, plan on throwing some jigs, plan on using light leader. You know, we caught before we left today or for this morning, you know, I saw a bunch of whiting just right up close, and they weren't huge. They were 8, 9, 10 inches max, using a little crappie jig head with a little tiny piece of fish bites, tossing it 1 yard off the beach, you know, 4, 5, 6 feet at the most, and, you know, catching a whiting every cast for 10, 15 casts, you know. So a lot of opportunity out there. You just kind of change it up and just kind of expect different things and don't go out there and, you know, just kind of limit yourself, just kind of be ready for everything.
Well, you mentioned that clear water. Is there any particular part of the coastline that where you've got a little bit better water conditions than others?
Usually further east, you always have clear water, but, you know, there's a lot of dirty water coming out of Mobile Bay. We haven't had a whole lot of rain, so it's not terrible. And see, some places, like towards west, you know, the Fort Morgan area and stuff, that water can be dirty, like I saw with Matthew last week. You know, if the water is green colored, it don't necessarily have to be crystal clear, Bahama clear, but if that water's got a green color, I expect to catch, you know, or the higher chances of pompano. But, you know, we were fished out there last week in really fairly dirty water, actually, and we caught, you know, I caught one 17-inch pompano and a few other small ones that came through at once. And we really, you know, wasn't expecting it. Not that this pompano won't get in that dirty water, but that's usually a sign that we look for, is that cleaner water. In the dirtier water, it seems that you'll have a heavier presence of catfish. But, you know, with the different tides, all these winds we've been having, it's really, you might have to pull up to the beach in the morning and be like, okay, this looks crappy, you know, and just move. You know, everything to the east has been fairly clean, but then, you know, you'll come back 2 hours later, the next morning, it'll be kind of dirty. So, you know, I've been kind of fishing the same areas on the east side, especially Orange Beach, not as much in Gulf Shores and stuff. But even the days the waters have been dirty, we've still caught some black drum, we still caught redfish, we've still caught whiting, we still caught pompano. So if it's got some murk to it, I wouldn't be super upset. You know, if it's just absolutely muddy like the Mississippi River, just nasty, you know, get ready for a catfish chew down. But I don't think anywhere right now is that bad off.
Dusty, we saw quite a good many number of schools of Spanish mackerel moving up and down the beach. What's your go-to if you do see some Spanish mackerel? What do you like? What do you feel like is the best way to get after them from the beach?
There's a few lures you can throw. Artificial lures is to me is ideal. Obviously, you know, some people try to do live baits and stuff off the beach, but it's a little tougher, especially with the wind pushing against you. You know, in those schools, you'll have hardtails mixed in. There'll be ladyfish. I actually saw a few tarpon this morning inside the sandbar, good sized fish. I put a swim bait in one of them's face. I was kind of scared that he hit it. But it was on a little 2500 Solstice with an 8-foot Tika rod. It's a little light rod. I was hoping he didn't hit it for a second, but you know, there's a variety of lures. You know, a spoon. I don't like going anything over an ounce, but half ounce of, you know, 3/4 ounce or even up to an ounce will work. You know, there's little spoons you can throw, silver spoons. A lot of people use gotcha plugs. I myself, I like something small and compact that will cast far and work small or work quickly. Your mackerel and stuff that are feeding out there, you know, most of their bait fish that they're eating are, you know, I would say an inch at most, if that, maybe ½ inch to 3/4 inch. These little blood minnows and glass minnows and rain minnows, whatever you want to call them. There's all kinds of little bait fish out there, and they'll be, you know, crazy fish and hardtails and Spanish and all that mixed in eating them. Those Spanish are a little more picky than the rest of them. You know, ladyfish won't turn down a 3-inch or a 4-inch swim bait if you pull it past them, or a top water plug. Same thing with a bluefish. Those Spanish are really picky. They know, like, hey, I'm eating these little ½ inch baits. What is that? You know, that thing's just eating the same things I'm eating. So you really have to change your lure. You can, or not your lure, your cadence. You can use a bigger lure and get bites from those fish that normally wouldn't eat. Like I had Spanish this morning. I'll send y'all some of the pictures. I mean, some monster Spanish at our feet. I mean, you could walk out there and grab them. It's flat calm. They were 10 feet off the beach, just crushing bait. And my guys weren't getting hooked up. And they're, have one throwing a white loony jig or like a little pompano jig. I have one throwing a 1 ounce hoagie swim bait, like in a LY color. And then I had another one throwing a tube jig, and they just weren't getting bit. And I was like, let me see that rod real quick, and he was just kind of halfway twitching it in a weird retrieve. And I made a cast that doing similar to what he was doing, nothing. And then I made a cast and I burned it back, nothing. And then I did a cast with a slow roll, just a slow pump on that little hex head jig, and it's going back and forth, shooting, a foot left, right. And they smoked it right away. And I said, do that every time. Yeah, you just got to figure out what they want. I've seen people trout fishing. I learned it through trout fishing, especially on the beach, throwing like a rip and slash or a mirror lure. Mm-hmm. You can sit there and do the same retrieve all day. You might not get bit once, and the guy next to you is caught 6 because he's doing a different retrieve or changing his retrieve. And, just because they bite it for 1 minute don't mean they'll be the same 10 minutes from now. If you stop getting bit, it's usually not because they're not there, they're not biting, it's they don't like how you're fishing that lure. You have to make those fish eat sometimes. Sometimes it's just pissing them off. It's like, okay, this thing's in my face, it's eating my food. Yeah, I'm about to take you out. So, and that same thing goes with trout as a Spanish. Sometimes it's just a change of cadence. I got that guy, finally got him working that lure, that slow pumping, and he sat there and hooked up five casts in a row, and he probably made 100 prior to that without even getting looked at, So if that lure is just kind of lollygagging through there, they have food all around them, and sometimes that means they're going to eat anything in front of them. And then sometimes it's, they're like, hey, I don't want that. That's not what I'm here to eat. So figuring out what that bait has to do to really stand out to all that food that's there is like, hey, okay, that's the one I want to eat, or that guy's got to get out of here. I got to take him out. So same thing with the bonita today. A lot of times bonita, they're some of the pickiest. You'll see them just crashing all over the place. I mean, bumping into the boat, and they won't touch anything you got. A silver spoon, you can't get them trolling. You can't get them on a mackerel tree. You can't get them on a top water. You can't get them on nothing because they're eating bait fish that you almost can't even see. And you don't. Most people don't even have anything small enough to throw at them when they're doing that. And then there's other days like today where I'm catching them on a 5-inch, 2-ounce hoagie swim bait, and catching them trolling on spoons, trolling on. I mean, everything we had in the water, we were catching a bonita on. So it's day by day, it's different. But those Spanish, you'll find change cadences and something small and compact. I usually say if it's under 3 inches or below, I'm usually happy with it.
Yeah, Richard and Patrick talk all the time about cadence and the trout and throwing those suspended twitch baits and stuff like that. And like you said, you can throw the same way 10 times. Do that one time where you do a twitch roll or something just a little bit different, and that's what they want. Mm-hmm. Game on.
Long pauses is big, and there's something I learned real quick. I was just I'll tell you all about it. I learned it this past week. I watched C.A. Richardson a lot. Flats class, and I'd learn a lot from him as far as the tarpon and trout stuff goes. And he'll use those mirror lures like a 17 and just slow reel it, and it swims almost. And he'll do that, and it's really good for trout, those twitch baits. And I've never even thought about doing that, but not sure if that's something y'all tried before.
Well, when Butch does it, what he does is he takes the spinning reel and he flips it upside down, and then just kind of reels it backwards. That's how because it puts that special,
it's the most efficient way.
Right.
It's the most efficient way.
Yeah, the line slapping that rod really gives it a good click.
Right.
Exactly. Calls them up.
Right.
Well, on a serious note, Dusty, we've asked this question. You're the third expert of the week, and so we got to know how this question applies to the onshore guys. Question comes from Pat O'Brien. He says, I prefer to use a black hook, and a buddy prefers to use a gold hook. Some of the fish we were catching this weekend were acting spooky when baits were presented. So does the color of the hook have any effect on the bite ratio? What do you think? How about on onshore surf fishing?
Yeah, surf fishing, to me, using a shrimp makes sense to use a bronze hook. I mean, bronze is natural. It's going to blend in with the sand. I know, inshore, if I'm using a live shrimp, I'm using a bronze hook most of the time. I'm not a black hook fan when it comes to using a live shrimp or even a dead shrimp. But inshore, on the beach for sure, I use a variety of hooks. I'm not a silver hook person, especially when it comes to, whiting and pompano fishing. But there's a few things you can look at when you're looking at that. Like a lot of your diet on a pompano and a whiting is sand fleas and ghost shrimp and stuff like that, nothing silver. But at the same time, a pompano is a jack. And, there's a period of time where the world record was caught on a topwater plug. And, people catch them all the time on gotcha plugs and spoons off of piers and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily that silver would be like nothing they would ever eat, but if they're looking for sand fleas and stuff like that along the bottom, then in that case, something bronze or brown or gold or whatever might be more natural. To me, surf fishing using a piece of dead shrimp covered up with fish bites and a colored bead or float, you already have a lot of color there. That bait's covering that hook up, and then you got colored fish bites, pink, white, orange, whatever they may be. And then that bead or float, there's a lot of color there to me that's already pulling away from that hook. It almost probably wouldn't matter what color it was if it was covered and aided with that, because I think those other colors might pull away from it. I know I'm not a red hook fan at all. Sometimes I'll use them shark fishing, not necessarily purposely, but, today I put on a red hook and they got smoked in about 60 seconds. I don't necessarily think that makes too much of a difference. But I think it's just one of those things where you experiment on your own terms. Everybody, I have a good buddy of mine, and me and him argue. We're best friends, but we don't ever fish together because we're like middle school girls fighting all the time. And, he hooks his shrimp in the tail and I hook him in the head, and, he ties a uni knot and I'll tie a different knot. It's just like, it's always one thing or the other. And that's something we've argued about before. And he'll hook up with a fish and be like, black hook. And I'll hook up with a fish and I'm like, bronze hook. It don't matter some days.
Man, that sounds really similar to a friend that I have too.
Right. That's like, I'm the good looking one, Butch.
Does your friend happen to think that he knows everything?
Oh, he's the duck hunting, turkey hunting. Just the legend.
It sounds familiar, but I can't figure out which friend of mine that is.
Yeah, fly fishing, trout guide in Arkansas. You name it, he's the best of the best.
That's all right. We still love him. We still love him anyways, don't we?
It's lonely at the top.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Butch, see if you can extract an onshore tip out of Dusty Hayes.
Yeah, we're going to get that tip from you as always. And this week's onshore tip is brought to us by the CCA Alabama. Another great way to support conservation projects like the Claude Petit Flounder Hatchery in the University of South Alabama Cobia Tagging Project is through the purchase of a distinctive CCA Alabama saltwater fishing license plate. Just head over to Alabama Department of Revenue's distinctive license plate page at revenue.alabama.gov to get yours. What you think about a tip this week, Captain Dusty?
Yeah, so I'll kind of hit back on what we were talking about earlier with the Spanish. To me, if you're surf fishing, and I use the same rule offshore, inshore, up in the creeks, or 100 miles out in the Gulf or on the beach, especially though, always have a rod rigged with. It don't have to be in particular lure, lure of your choice, something you have confidence in. You can have a little DOA waiting on a little redfish or a black drum to swim by, especially earlier in spring with sheep's head all the time. It could be a spoon, it could be a topwater, just something ready to go for those schooling fish that might come by or cruising fish that might come by. You'll see a cruising trout or a cruising redfish all the time on calm, clear days. You'll have big schools of Spanish, big schools of ladyfish. Jack Crevalle might come cruising through there. I usually recommend something on the heavier side. I say heavier, like up to an ounce, that you can cast far, reach those fish, something that's durable, that's not going to foul up, that's another thing of mine. I'm not a huge double treble hook person, and something where it's a quick situation. If I'm taking my time and I'm trout fishing all day, I'll throw a mirror lure or unfair rip and slash or whatever that's got 2 treble hooks. And if it fouls, it's no big deal. But if it's something where in a quick situation, I'm going to grab that rod and cast out there, I love something with one hook. That one hook, it's not going to foul, it's not going to wrap up, it's not going to not work properly because of those hooks wrapped up around the leader or anything like that. So I myself, to me, the 1 ounce little hoagie swim bait is just a killer bait for Spanish, trout, flounder, ladyfish, bluefish, whatever. They're about $6 a pop, so it sucks if a Spanish or bluefish, rips the tail off or cuts it off. But it's an ounce and it's small. You can cast it a mile. It works. It looks like a little bait fish. It's simple. It's nothing crazy. And they got some cool colors, great hooks in them, all kinds of good stuff. I usually recommend everybody do like 30 to 60 pound leader, mono or fluorocarbon. I just use monofilm. It's cheap and easy. And when a lure is moving quickly, especially low light conditions early in the morning, I don't think they see that monofilament anyways. And that mono also has stretch. Most people are using braid on their rods nowadays. So that mono has a little stretch there for you. If you do hook up with a bigger fish, 40, 50 pound and get you across the board. Not that you need it for a fish that big, but you have some abrasion resistance against those ladyfish teeth, against those mackerel, and against those bluefish. They might hit it, almost cut it, but it's enough to be like, okay, that's frayed, cut it, retie it. And so that right there to me is just crucial. I preach it to everybody I take fishing, whether it's on the beach or inshore or whatever. Always have a rod of your choice, your favorite rod or whatever it is with your favorite lure on there, ready to go to catch a fish. I mean, that there could put a fish in the box in the cooler or catch a fish of a lifetime for some people. That you wouldn't have caught, just sitting there with a bait and a weight, watching this fish swim by while you got your rig out with shrimp. You can catch cool stuff doing that. That's what I'm doing every day most of the time, but you also brings as well. So
awesome. Love it. I like that. Me too. That's a good one, buddy. We appreciate you contributing this week.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anytime, guys.
Yeah, man. And if folks want to get in touch with you, Liquid Force Inshore Charters, and book a trip with you, what's the best way to reach out?
Yeah. You can get on Facebook or Instagram at Liquid Force Charters or Liquid Force Inshore Charters. Our website is liquidforcecharters.com. And you can call me at 678-897-0167. And then I also have a Facebook page for my surf fishing. It's called Shore Thing Fishing, SHORE. And that's all my surf fishing stuff. So I post pictures on there daily of whiting and sharks and all that stuff and all the cool stuff we've got.
We appreciate it, man. Keep whacking them.
All right, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Some really good stuff this week, Joe. Had some really good tips and reports from our contributors. I know you've done a bunch of triple tail fishing, man. What do you think about Pato's question about the color hook?
Man, we've tried it all. We've tried red hooks. We've tried gold hooks. We've done bronze hooks, black hooks. I think with triple tail, my experience has been when it's your day, it's your day. I've never found that a hook made a difference much other than maybe what I said last week, which is I like to hide that hook and make it weedless. But I just think in general, I don't want a fish to see my hook, period. I'm not ever going to use a hook to increase my bite. I want to hide my hooks. I want my hooks to be as minimal as possible. I mean, if you think about how the slick lure and why the slick lure has done so much good, the way that bait is designed and it hides that hook, where and it doesn't snag on anything, whereas having those two double treble hooks hanging down, I think sometimes you can do anything you want. Those fish are just chewing and they're reacting to the bite. I haven't had a whole lot of triple tail turning stuff down unless they were already spooked. A lot of times sight fishing triple tail, especially offshore blue water, you really got to pare down your tackle, get it down to the bare minimum. But color, I think it attracts a lot of fishermen. I wouldn't say that it attracts a lot of fish.
I think that I would agree with that. And Pato was saying they had a lot of fish being spooky. I know I had a buddy that went yesterday. I think it was yesterday. And they hit jugs and buoys and everything from Mississippi Sound all the way up, it sounds like. And same thing, a lot. They weren't hungry. Something, maybe it was the tide or something, but they had a lot of fish. They caught a couple, but they had a lot of fish turning their noses up at the bait. So maybe it just maybe a couple days.
I think especially with triple tail, that with the triple tail that you're seeing, if they're hanging on structure like a crab buoy or some kind of flotsam and they're laying up on the top, that fish is seeing everything that goes by. And there's boats whizzing by on a pretty regular basis to those fish. Whereas you get a fish that's holding up on a piece of structure like a piling or a buoy chain, they're a little more insulated from that. They just tend to be less spooky. So I think that's probably more just the nature of the fish that they were fishing for.
Insulated or isolated?
Both.
Either.
Yeah. There's not much insulated out there right now. It's freaking hot.
It is hot, but it's that time of year.
Yeah. Isolated, insulated. Pick your poison.
Yep. Agreed.
Well, what did you learn today, man? What do you think?
I just think it's that time of year to be ready for everything and anything. Dusty was talking about having a rod ready, trying to get those schools of passing pelagics. What did Skipper talk about?
Being ready for those flying fish.
That's right.
I mean,
That's
you
right.
never
Having a
know
big
when
dip
one of
net.
those things is going to come floating by the boat, and having that dip net or having that small cast net is key. Of that, like, golly, how many times have you scooped up a fresh flying fish and just immediately you got a tuna on when nothing else was biting?
A lot.
And then
a lot of times,
Patrick talked about the diversity of the amount of fish that are with those speckled trout right now. And, just being prepared not only to switch up what you're doing to try to focus on those trout, but also just kind of being prepared to catch what's biting at the moment. So I think that's a good theme for the show.
What I brought away from it is be prepared, like the Boy Scouts.
Yes.
Optimize your chances at, whatever, like you say. Another fish or two could make the difference in a bad day and an angry wife. Come home empty-handed, she's going to start questioning you.
I don't know what that's like. All right, man, wrap this thing up.
All right, guys. That's going to wrap it up for this week. We had some new reviews on iTunes, and that was very exciting. I really enjoy reading those. If you guys have not yet, please go over to iTunes and scroll on down. Give us a whatever, 5-star preferably, but whatever you feel like. Leave us a review. We really enjoy reading those. It puts the wind in our sails every week to keep bringing you guys this report. And make sure you give us a like on Facebook at Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report. If you have not done that yet, we're always posting stuff, trying to get HACAP questions and just whatever that Joe and I are up to that week.
Don't forget about the giveaway. We've got those CCA C-Deck rulers. You can go over to greatdaysoutdoors.com/ASFR to enter. It's easy, free, takes just a few seconds. Or you can go to the Facebook page over on the left-hand side. I don't think you can do it on mobile yet.
It's got to be desktop.
Be desktop. I don't know what. We just fish, guys.
We're just too dumb to figure out
all this technological mumbo jumbo. But if you're on the desktop version of Facebook, you can go over to subscribe, put in your email address there. It's all it takes to enter the giveaway. And we're going to be drawing that June or July 3rd. We'll draw it on July 4th, that show. So we'll be giving away the first ruler. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
You got one of those things squirreled away from me, Butch?
I don't know about that. Maybe we can talk about it. We can make a deal.
I'll start being nicer. All right, folks. Y'all come see us next week. Thanks a lot. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report has been brought to you by KillerDock. Are you suffering from dock dysfunction? Check out a full line of dock enhancement at KillerDock.com. That's KillerDock.com. And also, Great Days Outdoors, the South's finest hunting and fishing magazine. Pick up your copy wherever magazines are sold or check them out at GreatDaysOutdoors.com.
This week's Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Angelo Di Paola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, your boating and beach property specialist. Check me out on Facebook at Angelo Di Paola Realtor, the Coastal Connection, or call me direct at 850-287-3440.
Also, Ugly Fishing Charters with Captain Patrick Armisen. You can check us out at uglyfishing.com or call us at 251-747-1554.
This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report was brought to you by me, Joe Baya, and National Land Realty. If I can help you in any way with the purchase or sale of land in Alabama or Florida, whether it's timberland, farmland, recreational land like hunting land, or even agricultural land or ranch land like horse farm, drop me a message at jbaya@nationalland.com. That's JBAYA@nationalland.com.